Greetings of the day to all of you scholars. Today we are going to discuss the topic on Collegium controversy and constitutional ethics. Dear scholars, the controversy over the Collegium has arisen on account of the struck down of National Judicial Service Commission Act. After struck down of this act, a debate took place in the whole country because there was initiative from the other political institutions of the Constitution, some voices, as a result of which this act was passed by the Parliament and it was challenged subsequently on the ground that it interfered with the independence of judiciary and also affects the theory of basic structure propounded by our constitutional bench in the year 1972 in Keswan and Bharti case, where the arguments were led by an eminent lawyer, Nani Palkiwala. So, dear scholars, this controversy now has gone from top to bottom, and various voices are being raised from all corners, from the electronic media as well as through the print media. Dear friends, in the series of lecture of this conference, the subject has assumed a significance precisely for the reasons that in this conference, the topics discussed in this conference were a prelude to ethics, the study of constitution, political topics, reinventing judicial oratory, reinventing deliberative oratory, and reinventing epidictic oratory. Dear scholars, in background of the series of this lecture, today we may discuss this controversy so that this must be resolved through cooperation and coordination to avoid any constitutional crisis. Dear friend, we must go to understand not only the constitutional ethics, but simultaneously we must understand the conventional ethics. There is a blending between the conventional ethics and the constitutional ethics, and we must, in background of this, have already discussed the topic on study of constitution. During the course of lecture on the study of constitution, we discussed that there are four types of constitution. Number one, democratic. Number two, oligarchic. Number three, aristocracy. Number four, monarchy. And both have the ends to achieve. The democracy refers to the freedom, oligarchy refers to the wealth, aristocracy refers to the education and intellectual traditions with legal usage and customs. Dear friends, unless we discuss all these aspects, it is very difficult to decide the controversy of the Collegium. The end of monarchy is, if perverted, into anarchy. Therefore, we must also keep in mind the perversion of this system. Now, taking into consideration the reports from the electronic media, print media, eminent constitutional scholars, professionals, judges, political institutions, we must look into it. So long as my understanding goes to the topic of Collegium is that the Collegium is undoubtedly a fundamental structure. It is within the edifice of the fundamental structure of the constitutional foundations during the growth of our democracy. So, dear scholar, the collegium system forms the part of basic structure, but simultaneously we must not overlook the fact that nothing is permanent. Everything is in constant flux and changeable. Some changes slowly, some fastly, and some are intermediate. We must keep this principle in mind before going through this debate. Friends, Constitution, though appears to be a stable document, but it is dynamic because science and technological developments are taking place at a very high speed. Therefore, we must also understand the understanding of the people, citizens, and our intellectuals, and the politicians, and professionals, and the experts as well. So, dear friends, we must not only stick to the one aspect, we must look deeper and deeper. To my understanding again, it comes to my mind, we must keep in mind not only the constitutional ethics, we must also take into consideration the conventional ethics. Therefore, to my view, it can be seen that all the political institutions in this country must resolve this controversy taking into consideration the principle of tolerant understanding so that the constitutional crisis be avoided. Because what is advantageous? Constitution preservation is advantageous not only to the political institutions but also to the people at large. Therefore, we must go into details. How this came up? The story starts from the word consultation with regard to the appointment of the higher judiciary pertaining to the appointment of Supreme Court judges and the High Court judges. And other constitutional authorities are also important and should work in their respective domain. So, the voices from all the constitutional experts, academicians, experts, judges, and common citizens must be allowed to give a voice in this regard. Dear friends, recently, Law Minister, Honorable Vice President of India, and our Honorable Chief Justice of Supreme Court of India had different statements in this regard. And our Honorable Chief Justice of India recently answered to the statement of Honorable Vice President of India that our basic structure theory is like a lodestar to interpret not only the Constitution but the laws and usage, customs. So dear friends, we must avoid the crisis which appears to have taken place at the root level. So I may request the intelligentsia as well as to the politicians, constitutional functionaries and other stakeholders that the controversy must be resolved under the principles of tolerant understanding, keeping in mind the intellectual traditions after blending the conventional as well as the constitutional ethics. Thanks.